The sales manager's voice cut through the showroom like a knife. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." He looked at the woman in the worn jeans and faded jacket like she was dirt on his Italian leather shoes. "This dealership caters to a certain clientele. I don't think you understand the kind of prices we're talking about here." The woman stood perfectly still, her hands clasped in front of her. Calm. Dignified. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't make a scene. "I understand," she said softly. "I just wanted to look at—" "Look?" The manager laughed. A cruel sound. Sharp, mocking. "Lady, the cars in here start at $200,000. Do you even know what that means?" But here's what the sales manager didn't notice. A man stood near the entrance. Dark jacket, quiet, still as stone. His eyes tracked every word. Every gesture, every moment of humiliation. And when those eyes locked onto the sales manager, something cold passed through the air. Something that should have made him shiver, should have made him stop, should have made him think twice. He didn't. "Tell us where you are watching from and what time it is right now. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this video to your friends." The story started 2 hours earlier. Simple enough. A woman named Grace walked into Premier Luxury Motors on a Tuesday afternoon. The sun was bright. The showroom gleamed with chrome and polish. Rolls-Royces, Bentleys, Maseratis, cars that cost more than most people's houses. Grace wore what she always wore. Comfortable jeans, a simple jacket, sneakers that had seen better days. She didn't dress to impress. Never had. Never needed to. Her husband used to joke that she could wear a paper bag and still light up a room. But today, she wasn't thinking about fashion. She was thinking about her sister. Maya's birthday was coming up. 35th, a milestone. And Maya had been through hell, divorce, job loss, medical bills that crushed her spirit. Grace wanted to do something special. Something that said, "I see you, I love you, you matter." So she came to buy a car. The showroom smelled like leather and money. 3 salespeople stood near the desk, talking, laughing, sipping coffee. Grace walked up to the nearest one, a young guy, maybe 25. Name tag read, Marcus. "Hi," Grace said with a warm smile. "I'm looking to purchase a vehicle, something special. I was thinking maybe a Bentley Continental GT. Do you have one I could see?" Marcus blinked. Looked her up and down, hesitated. Yeah, I mean, we do have that model, but—" "Marcus!" A voice barked across the showroom, sharp, commanding. The sales manager strode over. His name was Richard Westbrook. Slicked back hair, expensive suit, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I'll handle this." Marcus stepped back, nodded, looked uncomfortable. Richard turned to Grace, that fake smile plastered on his face. "Can I help you with something?" "Yes," Grace said politely. "I'd like to see the Bentley Continental GT. I'm interested in purchasing one." Richard's eyes swept over her. Worn jacket, casual clothes, sneakers. His smile tightened. "Right. And you're looking to purchase today?" "Yes, if possible." "I see." He crossed his arms. "And how exactly were you planning to pay for this vehicle?" "Do you understand? These cars require significant financial commitment." Grace felt the shift, the condescension, the judgment. But she stayed calm. "I understand completely. I'm prepared to pay in full. I just need to see the options first." Richard laughed. Not a real laugh. A performance. "Ma'am, I don't think you realize what you're asking. The Continental GT starts at $240,000. That's before taxes and fees." "I'm aware." "Are you?" His voice dropped. Colder now. "Because I've been in this business 15 years, and I can tell when someone is wasting my time." This is where things got worse. Behind Grace, the showroom doors opened. A couple walked in, designer everything. Rolex watches that caught the light. The man wore a suit that probably cost $5,000. The woman dripped in jewelry. They looked like money, smelled like money, moved like money. Richard's entire demeanor changed instantly. The fake smile became real, warm, welcoming. "Good afternoon." He practically jogged over to them. "Welcome to Premier Luxury Motors. Richard Westbrook, sales manager. How can I help you fine folks today?" Grace stood alone, forgotten, invisible. Marcus shuffled closer to her. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "Maybe I can help you look at some—" "Marcus!" Richard snapped without looking back. "Get these wonderful people some champagne, top shelf, and bring the catalogue for the new Phantom." Marcus's jaw tightened, but he nodded, walked away. Grace watched the scene unfold, the manager fawning over the wealthy couple, showing them cars, laughing at their jokes, treating them like royalty. Meanwhile, she stood there like a ghost, unwanted. Unworthy. She decided to try one more time. Grace walked over to where Richard was showing the couple a silver Rolls-Royce. "Excuse me," she said quietly. "I'm still interested in—" Richard whirled around, his face flushed red. "Are you kidding me right now?" His voice rose, loud enough that everyone in the showroom could hear. "I told you I'm busy. Can't you see I'm with actual clients?" The wealthy couple looked uncomfortable. The woman whispered something to her husband. But Richard wasn't done. "You walk in here dressed like you're going to Walmart, wanting to look at cars you clearly can't afford, and you think you can just interrupt me while I'm working with real buyers?" He pointed toward the door. "The used car lot is 3 blocks down. Try there. There'll be more in your price range." Grace's face stayed calm, but her eyes shimmered. Just slightly. She nodded once. "I understand." Her voice was steady, controlled. "Thank you for your time." She turned to leave. That's when Marcus stepped forward. "Wait," he said. His voice cracked slightly. "Ma'am, I can help you. I can show you the Bentley. It's just over here and—" "Marcus!" Richard's voice boomed like thunder. "Get back to work, now, unless you want to join her at the unemployment line." Marcus froze, his hands clenched into fists. But he was young, needed the job, had student loans, rent, bills. He stepped back, mouthed, "I'm sorry," to Grace. She gave him a small smile, kind, understanding. Then she walked toward the exit. Here's what Richard didn't notice, what nobody noticed except that one young salesman, the man in the dark jacket, had been watching everything. He stood near the entrance the entire time, silent, still, observing. His presence was strange, unnerving, like a predator studying prey. When Grace reached the door, she paused, looked back at the showroom one last time. Her eyes found the quiet man. Something passed between them, a glance, a nod, some kind of silent communication that no one else could decode. Then she left. The man in the dark jacket remained, his eyes locked onto Richard Westbrook. And for just a moment, one brief, terrifying moment, Richard felt those eyes on him. He turned, met that gaze, cold, piercing, intense, the kind of stare that made your blood run cold. Richard looked away quickly, uncomfortable, unsettled. The man walked toward the exit, slow, deliberate, each step measured. He stopped next to Marcus, leaned in slightly. Said something too quiet for anyone else to hear. Marcus's eyes went wide. He nodded rapidly. Then the man left. Richard tried to shake off the weird feeling, turned back to the wealthy couple with his fake smile restored. "Now where were we? Ah, yes, the Phantom. Let me tell you why this is the finest." His phone buzzed. He ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. Annoyed, he checked the screen. Unknown number. He almost dismissed it, but something made him answer. "Hello?" The voice on the other end spoke for 30 seconds. Richard's face went white, then red, then white again. His hand started shaking. The phone nearly slipped from his grip. "What?" he whispered. "Tomorrow? But that's—" He listened more. "Yes. Yes, of course. I understand. Thank you for the information." He hung up, stood there, frozen. Marcus noticed. "Everything okay, Mr. Westbrook?" Richard didn't answer. His mind was racing, processing what he just heard, the woman he just humiliated, the woman he mocked and dismissed. According to his contact at the luxury car network, she just sent an inquiry for a fleet order, 50 vehicles, custom spec, Bentleys, Rolls-Royces, and Maseratis. Total value, $12 million. And she was coming back tomorrow, with her husband, her billionaire husband. Richard's legs felt weak, his stomach churned, because he just realized something terrifying. He'd made the biggest mistake of his career, maybe of his life. And that quiet man in the dark jacket, the one with the cold, piercing eyes, the one who watched everything and said nothing. Richard had a horrible feeling he was about to find out exactly who that man was. Richard didn't sleep that night, not 1 minute. He sat in his home office, sweating, pacing, replaying every word he said, every cruel comment, every dismissive gesture. The memory played on loop like a horror movie he couldn't turn off. $12 million, 50 cars, the biggest sale in the dealership's history, and he'd treated the client like trash. At 6 a.m, he was already at the showroom, frantic, desperate. He called the owner, Douglas Pemberton, woke him up, explained everything in a rush of panicked words. "You did what?" Douglas's voice crackled through the phone, furious, disbelieving. "Richard, do you have any idea what you've done? That commission alone would be $400,000. $400,000. I know, I'm sorry, Sorry doesn't fix this. You better pray she still comes in today. You better pray you can salvage this. Because if you lose this sale, you're finished. Do you hear me? Finished." The line went dead. Richard stood in the empty showroom. His reflection stared back from the polished hood of a Bentley. He looked like a ghost, pale, haunted, destroyed. Marcus arrived at 8, found his boss already there. "Mr. Westbrook, you're here early." "Marcus!" Richard's voice was tight, strained. "That woman from yesterday. If she comes back, you bring her straight to me, understood? Don't say anything. Don't do anything. Just get me immediately." Marcus frowned. "What's going on?" "None of your business. Just do what I say." But Marcus wasn't stupid. He'd seen Richard's face yesterday when he got that phone call, seen the color drain away, seen the panic set in. Something big was happening, something that terrified his boss. The morning dragged. Every time the door opened, Richard jumped, checked, deflated when it wasn't her. The other salespeople noticed his strange behavior, whispered among themselves. But nobody asked questions. Then, at 11:30, it happened. A limousine rolled up outside. Not just any limousine. Custom, sleek, black as midnight. Chrome accents that caught the sunlight like diamonds. The kind of vehicle that costs more than most luxury cars inside the showroom. Richard's heart stopped. The driver stepped out, opened the rear door. A woman emerged. Grace. But different. Today she wore an elegant dress, simple but expensive. Her hair was styled. She moved with quiet confidence, the kind that comes from knowing exactly who you are. Then the second door opened. A man stepped out. The man from yesterday. The quiet one. The one who watched everything with those cold, calculating eyes. Today he wore a tailored black suit, perfectly fitted. Italian, probably. His presence commanded attention without demanding it. He stood beside Grace, placed a protective hand on her back, scanned the showroom entrance with the precision of someone trained to assess threats. Every person in the showroom stopped, stared, felt something shift in the air. Richard's hands trembled. He smoothed his tie, forced his legs to move, walked toward the entrance, his mind racing with prepared apologies, rehearsed explanations, desperate damage control. But when Grace and the quiet man entered, Richard couldn't speak. The words died in his throat. Because up close, the man's presence was overwhelming. 6 feet tall. Built like someone who'd done hard work, real work, not gym muscles, functional strength. His eyes swept the showroom, taking in everything, missing nothing. Those eyes landed on Richard, held him there, pinned like an insect to a board. Grace spoke first. Her voice was calm, measured. "Hello, Richard. Mrs." He stopped, realized he never asked her last name yesterday. Never cared to learn it. "Mum, I am so deeply sorry about yesterday. There was a terrible misunderstanding and—" "A misunderstanding?" The quiet man spoke for the first time. His voice was low, deep, every word deliberate, controlled, the kind of voice that made you listen, made you pay attention. "Is that what we're calling it?" Richard's mouth went dry. "Sir, I didn't realize—" "You didn't realize what?" The man took one step forward. Just one. But it felt like the temperature dropped 10 degrees. "That my wife deserved basic respect? That human dignity isn't determined by clothing? That judging someone based on appearance makes you exactly the kind of person who shouldn't be trusted with anything that matters?" The entire showroom had gone silent. Every salesperson, every customer, everyone watching, listening, witnessing. Grace touched her husband's arm gently. He stopped, took a breath, that deadly calm settling back over him like a mask. Richard stammered, "Please let me make this right. I have the Bentley ready. I can show you our entire inventory. Whatever you need, whatever you want, I will personally. You'll personally do nothing." The man's words cut like steel. "You had your chance. You chose to humiliate my wife in front of your staff and customers. You chose cruelty. You chose to make her feel small. So now you get to stand here and watch someone else help us." Richard's face went red, then white. "Sir, please, this is the biggest sale of the year. I can't just— Where's Marcus?" The question stopped everyone cold. "What?" Richard blinked, confused. "Marcus." The man's eyes scanned the showroom, found the young salesman standing near the back, frozen, shocked. "The kid who tried to help my wife yesterday, the one you threatened to fire for showing basic human decency. Where is he?" Marcus raised his hand slowly, like a student in class. I'm here, sir." The quiet man gestured, a simple motion. "Come here." Marcus walked over, his legs shaky. He had no idea what was happening, but something in the man's eyes told him this was important, life-changing, important. "What's your full name?" the man asked. "Marcus Thompson, sir." "How long have you worked here, Marcus?" 8 months. "You make good money?" Marcus laughed, bitter, short. "No, sir. Base salary plus commission, and I don't get many chances at commission when—" He glanced at Richard, stopped himself. "When your boss steals your clients," the man finished. Marcus said nothing, but his silence was answer enough. Grace stepped forward, smiled at Marcus, that same warm, kind smile from yesterday. "You tried to help me. You were the only one who treated me like a person. Thank you for that." Marcus nodded. "You deserved better than how he treated you, Mum. I'm sorry I couldn't do more. You did enough." The quiet man pulled out his phone, typed something, then looked at Richard. "Here's what's going to happen. My wife and I are purchasing a fleet, 50 vehicles, custom specifications, Bentleys, Rolls-Royces, Maseratis. Total value approximately $12 million. The number hit the room like a bomb. Gasps, whispers. Someone dropped their coffee cup. It shattered on the marble floor. Richard's eyes went wide. Desperate, greedy, hopeful. Yes, sir, absolutely. I can process that immediately, if you'll just— Marcus will handle the sale. Silence. What? Richard's voice cracked. Marcus gets the commission. Marcus gets the recognition. Marcus gets everything that comes with this sale. You get nothing. But I'm the manager. I have seniority. You can't just— The quiet man took another step forward. Now he was inches from Richard, eye to eye. That cold, piercing stare boring into him like a drill. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper, but everyone heard it, felt it. I can do whatever I want. Do you know why? Richard couldn't speak, couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Because I built a tech company from nothing. Started in a garage. Worked 18-hour days for 10 years. Made my first million at 30. My first billion at 40. I've purchased buildings, companies, entire city blocks. I've sat across from presidents and prime ministers. And through all of it, I never forgot where I came from. Never forgot what it's like to be dismissed, judged, told you're not good enough. He leaned in closer. His voice dropped even lower. You treated my wife like she was worthless. You humiliated her because you thought you could. Because you thought there would be no consequences. But here's what you didn't know. The man's hand moved to his jacket pocket, pulled out a business card, placed it in Richard's shaking hand. Richard looked down, read the name. His face went completely white. The card slipped from his fingers, fluttered to the ground. Because printed on that card was a name everyone knew, a name that appeared in Forbes, in Fortune, in every business magazine in the country, a name connected to tech empires and billion-dollar deals and philanthropy that changed lives, and standing in front of him, staring him down with those cold, calculated eyes, was the man himself. Marcus saw the card on the ground, saw the name. His jaw dropped. The other salespeople crept closer, tried to read it. When they did, the whispers started. Shocked, awed, terrified. But the quiet man wasn't done. He turned to Grace, took her hand, kissed it gently, then looked back at Richard with something new in his eyes. Not anger anymore. Something colder, more dangerous. The look of a man who'd made a decision. Final. Irreversible. Tomorrow morning, he said quietly, you and your owner are going to meet me at my wife's charity. It's a foundation for children with disabilities, kids who get judged every day, kids who get dismissed and ignored because people like you think they're not worth your time. Richard started to protest. Sir, I have work. I can't just— You'll be there at 8 a.m. You'll volunteer. You'll learn what it means to serve people who can't give you anything in return. You'll understand that human value isn't measured in dollars. And if you refuse— The man pulled out his phone again, showed Richard the screen, a list of names, contacts. People who mattered, people who made decisions. I make one call, the man said softly, and every luxury dealership in this city will know exactly who you are and what you did. You'll never work in this industry again. Your career will be over before lunch. Richard's legs buckled. He grabbed the desk for support. The quiet man turned to Marcus. His expression softened. Just slightly. 8 a.m. tomorrow. Same place. But you're coming for a different reason. We need to discuss your future. Something better than this. Marcus nodded, speechless. His eyes wet with tears he was fighting to keep back. Then the man did something nobody expected. He looked directly at Richard one final time, and when he spoke, his voice carried the weight of every role he'd ever played, every character who'd delivered justice. Every line that made audiences stand up and cheer. Let me tell you something about respect, he said, each word measured, precise, deadly. Respect isn't given because of what you wear, or what you drive, or how much money sits in your bank account. Respect is earned by how you treat people when there's nothing in it for you, when nobody's watching, when they can't fight back. He paused. Let that sink in. Let it cut deep. You failed that test, and now you're going to learn what it costs. Richard stood there, broken, humiliated. Everything he'd done to Grace reflected back on him 1,000 times over. But something else was happening, something that would make this moment legendary, something that would spread through the luxury car world like wildfire. Douglas Pemberton, the dealership owner, had just walked through the door. He'd driven here the moment Richard called him in a panic, and he'd heard everything, every word, every threat, every promise. He looked at Richard, at Grace, at the quiet man, at the business card on the floor. His face went through 5 different emotions in 3 seconds. Then he did something that made even the mysterious billionaire pause. Douglas walked straight up to him, extended his hand. His voice shook slightly when he spoke. "Mr. Washington," he said, "I am so deeply sorry, and we will make this right." The name hung in the air. Final confirmation. Final reveal. Denzel Washington stood there, calm, patient, his hand still at his side, not taking the offered handshake, not yet, because he wasn't done teaching this lesson. His eyes locked onto Douglas, that same cold, piercing stare that had terrified Richard. And when he spoke, his voice carried the promise of justice that hadn't been delivered yet, the kind that would hurt more than any punishment they could imagine. "Will you?" Denzel asked quietly. "Will you really?" Douglas stood there, hand extended, waiting, hoping. His dealership's entire future balanced on this moment. One decision, one man, one chance to fix the unfixable. Denzel looked at that outstretched hand, didn't take it. Not yet. Instead, he reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out a folded piece of paper, handed it to Douglas. "Read it," Denzel said, his voice calm, quiet, dangerous. Douglas unfolded the paper. His hands shook as he read. His face went pale, then red, then pale again. It was a list, names, 23 of them, employees who'd worked at Premier Luxury Motors over the past 5 years, all fired. All dismissed by Richard Westbrook for performance issues. But next to each name was a note, written in neat handwriting, Grace's handwriting. Fired after helping a disabled customer. Fired for spending too long with an elderly client. Fired for defending a young black couple from harassment. Douglas looked up at Denzel, horror dawning in his eyes. "I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't." "You didn't know because you didn't look." Grace's voice cut through his excuse, gentle but firm. "You gave Richard power. You trusted him. You let him create a culture where people were valued by their bank accounts instead of their humanity. And you profited from it." Douglas's hand dropped to his side. He looked at Richard, really looked at him for the first time, saw what he'd enabled, what he'd allowed to fester in his own business. "Tomorrow morning," Denzel said, pulling Douglas's attention back. 8 a.m., Grace's charity, the Lighthouse Foundation. You and Richard will be there. You'll spend the entire day with children who society treats the way Richard treated my wife. Kids who get stared at, dismissed, told they're not worth the effort. "Yes," Douglas said immediately. "Yes, absolutely. I'm not finished." Denzel's voice dropped lower, that intensity radiating off him like heat from asphalt in summer. "You'll volunteer there every Saturday for the next 6 months, both of you. No cameras, no publicity, no credit. Just service. Real service. The kind that doesn't come with applause or recognition." Richard made a strangled sound. 6 months? Every Saturday? I can't possibly. Denzel's head turned. Slow. Deliberate. His eyes locked onto Richard like a predator spotting wounded prey. You can't possibly what? Give up your weekends, your golf games, your brunches? He took one step toward Richard, then another, each footfall deliberate, measured. The showroom felt smaller with each step, the air thicker. Those kids? Denzel's voice was barely above a whisper now. Everyone leaned in to hear. They don't get weekends off from their conditions. They don't get to choose when their disabilities are convenient. They live with judgment every single day, every single hour. And you're worried about missing golf? Richard couldn't meet those eyes. Looked down, ashamed, terrified. Here's your choice, Denzel continued. You do what I'm asking. You learn what you should have learned years ago. You become better, or... He paused. Let the word hang there. Heavy. Final. Or Marcus gets your job, your title, your office, everything, and you disappear from this industry forever. The threat landed like a physical blow. Richard actually stumbled backward. Douglas found his voice. Mr. Washington, I promise you, we will be there. We will learn. We will change. And about Marcus, we're not done talking about Marcus. Denzel turned to the young man, still standing there, shocked, processing everything happening around him. Marcus, come here. Marcus walked over, his legs steadier now. Something in Denzel's presence made him stand taller, feel braver. You tried to help my wife, Denzel said. You risked your job to show kindness to a stranger. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are. He pulled out his phone, typed something. Marcus's phone buzzed. Check your email. Marcus pulled out his phone with shaking hands, opened his email. His eyes went wide. He read, then read again. His mouth fell open. That's a job offer, Denzel explained. My company needs someone to manage our corporate vehicle program. 50 cars now, more later. Company car, full benefits. Salary 3 times what you make here, plus commission on every vehicle we purchase going forward. Marcus looked up, tears streaming down his face now, not hiding them anymore. Sir, I don't know what to say. Say yes. Then help me finish buying these cars, because you're going to process this sale. You're going to earn that commission. $400,000, Marcus. Yours. For being a decent human being when it cost you something. Marcus nodded. Couldn't speak, just nodded over and over. Grace stepped forward. Hugged the young man. He broke down completely. Years of struggling. Being dismissed. Watching others succeed through cruelty while he tried to do right. All of it released in that moment. Thank you, he whispered into her shoulder. Thank you for seeing me. You made yourself visible, Grace said softly, by choosing kindness. The next morning came fast. 8 a.m., the Lighthouse Foundation, a beautiful building on the east side of the city. Bright, welcoming, filled with laughter and hope. Richard and Douglas arrived in separate cars. Both looked like they'd aged 10 years overnight. Both dressed down. Casual clothes, ready to work. They didn't know what to expect. Didn't know how this day would break them and rebuild them. Grace met them at the entrance, smiled, that same warm smile. Good morning. Come in. The kids are excited to meet you. They walked inside. The main room was full of children, some in wheelchairs, some with prosthetic limbs, some with conditions that weren't visible but just as real. All of them smiling, playing, living. A little girl rolled up in her wheelchair, maybe 7 years old, bright eyes, missing her left arm. Hi, are you the new volunteers? Richard looked down at her. Something shifted in his chest, tightened. He crouched down to her level. Yeah, I am. What's your name? Emma. Do you want to help me paint? I'm really good, but it's hard to hold the canvas still with one hand. I'd love to help you paint, Emma. For the next 8 hours, Richard and Douglas worked, really worked. They helped kids with art projects, read stories, pushed wheelchairs, served lunch, cleaned tables, and slowly, gradually, something inside them changed. They saw the way other people looked at these kids, the stares, the pity, the discomfort, the judgment, and they recognized it, because they'd looked at people that same way, made those same assumptions, drawn those same conclusions. Emma painted a picture of a butterfly, purple and gold, beautiful. She signed it with her one hand, gave it to Richard. "For you. So you remember me." Richard took it, looked at this little girl who'd been dealt a hard hand in life, but still chose joy, still chose kindness, still chose to give. "I'll remember you, Emma," he said, his voice thick. "I promise." At the end of the day, Denzel arrived. He'd been there all along, watching from Grace's office, observing, seeing if they'd really show up, really try, really learn. He walked into the main room, found Richard sitting on the floor, still holding Emma's painting, tears on his face. "She gave me a gift," Richard said quietly. "After everything I've done, after the way I've treated people, she just gave me something beautiful." Denzel sat down beside him, silent for a moment. Then he spoke, his voice softer now, less cold, more human. "That's what grace looks like," Denzel said. "Unearned, undeserved, given freely anyway. My wife's name isn't an accident. She lives what she's called. And these kids, they teach us what we forget. That every person has value. Every person deserves dignity. Every person is fighting battles we can't see." Richard nodded, wiped his eyes. "I was so wrong. About everything." "Yeah, you were." Denzel didn't soften it, didn't make it easier. "But wrong can become right if you choose it, if you work for it. If you show up every single Saturday and remember what you learned here today." Douglas joined them, sat down on Richard's other side. "We'll be here," he said, "every Saturday. Both of us. For as long as you'll have us." "Good." Denzel stood, offered his hand. "Finally. Then maybe there's hope for you, after all." Richard took it, shook it, felt the strength in that grip, the power, the restraint. "Thank you," Richard said, "for not destroying me, for giving me a chance to be better." "I didn't do it for you," Denzel replied. "I did it for them." He gestured to the children. "Because they deserve a world where people like you learn, where people like you change, where kindness isn't rare but expected." 3 months later, Marcus stood in his new office. Corner view, 23rd floor. Pictures of his family on the desk. In his hand, a promotion letter. Senior Director of Fleet Operations. He'd done it. Built something real, something good. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. He opened it. "Proud of you, Marcus. Keep choosing kindness. It'll never fail you. DW." Marcus smiled, looked out the window at the city below. Thought about that day in the dealership. How close he'd come to giving up. How close he'd been to letting cruelty win. But he hadn't, and that made all the difference. At Premier Luxury Motors, things changed. Richard came back different. Softer, more patient. He apologized to every employee, every customer. Started a new program to train staff on dignity and respect. Created a scholarship fund for underprivileged kids interested in automotive careers. Emma's butterfly painting hung in his office. A reminder. A promise. A witness to who he'd been and who he was becoming. And every Saturday morning, Richard and Douglas showed up at the Lighthouse Foundation. On time. Ready to serve. Ready to learn. Ready to remember that respect isn't given because of price tags or appearances or bank accounts. Respect is given because we're all human, all valuable, all worthy of dignity. Denzel and Grace watched it all unfold, quiet, proud, knowing that one moment of injustice had become a catalyst for change, that standing up for what's right, even when it's hard, ripples outward in ways you can't predict. Because that's what real justice looks like. Not revenge, not destruction, but transformation, growth, the chance to become better than you were. And sometimes, all it takes is one person refusing to accept cruelty as normal. One person saying, "No, not today. Not to my wife, not to anyone." Sometimes that's all it takes to change everything. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Comment below and tell us which part of the story you enjoyed the most. And don't forget to check out the 2 new life stories recommended on your screen right now.